Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. श्री राधा मोरिदा गौर चंद्र भगवान की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम थैंक यू। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्ते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। So before we go to our verse today, I just want to give a very brief description of what has been happening so far in this chapter, so that when we read the verse, we will understand the context a bit more properly. So the 11th canto deals primarily with the destruction and the liberation themes out of the 12 themes of Srimad Bhagavatam. And chapters 2 to 5, from chapters 2 to 5, it's the conversation between Maharaj Nimi and the 9 Yogendras, who answer several questions that have been asked by Maharaj Nimi. And Shri Antariksh speaks about Maya from verses 3 to 16. And Shri Prabuddha speaks from verses 18 to 33 about how to get rid of from the clutches of Maya, about whom all of this has just been discussed. And by accepting a spiritual master and by pure devotion to Krishna. Shri Piplayan, he speaks from verses 35 to 40 about the transcendental position of Lord Narayan, as well as a lot about the soul. He speaks about that. And in verse 40, Piplayan tells that when one seriously engages in the devotional service of the personality of Godhead, fixing the Lord's lotus feet within one's heart as the only goal of life, one can destroy the innumerable impure desires lodged within the heart as a result of one's previous fruitive work within the three modes of material nature. So because he's speaking about this fruitive work, it's setting the case for the question which Maharaj Nimi will ask now in verse number 41, which is regarding Karma Yoga. So let me just share the screen. Oops. Okay. For our verse for today. Okay. I hope everyone can see the screen. Okay. So we are speaking from Canto 11, Chapter 3, verse number 41. Shri Rajovacha Karma-yogam vadatana purusho yena samskritah vidhuyeha karmani neshkarmyam vindate param. So, translation. I'll just go straight to the translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. King Nimi said, O great sages, please speak to us about the process of Karma Yoga. Purified by this process of dedicating one's practical work to the Supreme, a person can very quickly free himself from all material activities, even in this life, and thus enjoy pure life on the transcendental platform. So it's very nice. We see that Maharaj Nimi is already, he's asking a very, very good question and he knows the answer for it also as well, but he wants to know more in depth about it. So let's read through the purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.5, Nahi kaschit shanam api jato tishtati akarmakrit karyate hi avasha karma sarva prakriti jair gune. All men are forced to act helplessly according to the impulses born of the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Since a living entity cannot remain inactive, he must learn to dedicate his activities to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada comments on this verse from Bhagavad Gita as follows. This verse, that is 3.5. It is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. Without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupations dictated by illusory energy. In contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes. And to purify the soul from such affinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastras. But if the soul is engaged in his natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. Ordinary people often question the busy activities of the devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement, mistaking such activities to be ordinary material work. Srila Jiva Goswami has stated in this connection, Kamya karmani eva tyajitani na tu nitya nayamitikani falasya eva vininditatvat. One should give up selfish activities performed for one's personal sense gratification, since the result of such thoughtless work is further material bondage. But one should offer one's regular or occasional occupational duties to the Supreme Lord, and thus such activities become transcendental devotional service. By the words Tasmat Gurum Prapadyate Jignasu Shre Uttamam, this chapter has clearly explained that dovetailing one's work with the service of the Lord is an art one should learn at the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master. Otherwise, if one whimsically declares his materialistic work to be transcendental devotional service, there will be no actual result. Therefore, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, one should not mistake the work with the word neshkarmyam to indicate inactivity. Rather, it indicates transcendental activity under the guidance of the Lord and his representative. So, yeah, just stop sharing my screen so we can better discuss. So some very nice words are used here by the disciples of Prabhupada while explaining about this verse. So since I've stopped the screen, so in the very first paragraph, it's written in the translation of the verse of Bhagavad Gita, all men are forced to act helplessly according to the impulses. So can anyone explain what is the word impulse? Like what does in general impulse mean? Online or maybe here.
Veda.
I'm sorry?
Vega.
I was
Could
just
you
gonna
please?
say, in Nectar of Instruction, it talks about like the first verse about how you have like the mind, the belly, the genitals, etc., and like the urges coming from them.
Hmm. Vega, yes. Okay. And someone else has mentioned here uh, a pull to do something. Okay. Yes. Yes, Janita Prabhu, you want to say something? Hmm. Yeah. Yes, yes. Vega, yeah, yeah. So that's true. Impulses actually means something as if you're not in control of it. It's almost like forcefully it comes out of our body. You know, we don't have any control over it. And another word is that which I found very interesting is that later in the same paragraph, Srila Prabhupada comments on this verse from Bhagavad Gita as follows: it is not a question of embodied life. So embodied life just doesn't mean human life, but it also means other species of life. The soul is active, so all embodied living entities, they are active because the soul is active. And a very good example of this is, you know, when teachers experience this when teaching their students, especially smaller students, you know, they can't help moving, you know, they're fidgety even for a moment, you know, that's like even as a child. So this is like a direct experience we may have, and the teacher's role is to engage such fidgety or impulsive children, you know, in some work or best in Krishna's service some way or the other. So another important word that I found in this is question of embodied soul. The body is on cannot stop even for a moment, otherwise it'll be engaged with. There is a word here called yes. In the second last sentence of that first paragraph, in contract with the material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes, and to purify the soul from such affinities. So affinities over here, affinity is something that we are mostly in touch with. Here, affinities means like it's almost like a sin, an attraction, or an affection that we have for a particular activity which may be degrading us. But it's so much of a part of us that, you know, we cannot be free from it. So the soul, in order to purify themselves from such affinities, it is necessary to engage them in prescribed duties. So, to protect ourselves, basically, we need to engage ourselves in devotional activities to Krishna. Not just the body, because the body is actually a bit easy to kind of like engage in Krishna service, but the most important thing is engaging our mind. Um, and I can very, very embarrassingly, by Krishna's grace, this is not happening so much to me now. But in my initial, when I started doing Pujari services, when I got my initiation a bit in my early days, while I was doing the arti, I was thinking about, okay, am I doing the right step? Am I doing it everything correctly? And after this step, is it okay? After this, I have to clean the bhoga plate, and then I have to do the arti, and then I have to make sure distribute it to everyone. Okay, and then what am I going to do after the arti? After the arti, I have to go out, do this. So I'm standing in the altar in front of the deities, and my mind can be completely anywhere else rather than appreciating the beautiful form of Radha Murlidhar, God Chandra, Shila Narsimha Dev in front of me, or even engaging my mind and like offering all these services, or you know, like even at the bare minimum, you know, even like speaking the mantras properly in my mind. But I'm thinking about other things apart from that. So yeah, the mind is the most difficult to control. So more so the mind needs to be engaged in Krishna conscious activities. And if the mind is still attracted to material activities, it's because yeah, we've been in this material world for a very, very long time doing materialistic activities and expecting happiness out of it time and again. So obviously this is bound to take time. You know, like magnet and iron, a magnet, if the stronger the magnet is, the greater the pull of the magnet is. Even if the iron is like very far away, still like there can be nails which are over there and the magnet could be over here, but if the magnet is strong, it will pull the nails very strongly. So the mind is also attracted to many things, that and so we need to put the mind, engage the mind in the lotus feet of Krishna one way or the other. So Maharaj Nimi is asking how, basically, Maharaj Nimi is asking how we can be engaged in practical activities that we have an attraction for or a natural tendency for. and make it into karma yoga or dedicated to the Lord's service. So those same activities that we have an attraction for end us taking us closer to Krishna. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita, the whole of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita to Arjun. After all the trials and tribulations that Arjun faces in his life, they were poisoned, and there was a very terrible dice match in which their wife Draupadi was disrobed. They had to be living incognito for 1 year and another 12 years before that in exile in the forest. And even despite that, they were not allowed to get their kingdom back. So a whole lot has happened. And yet, when Arjun goes to the battlefield and when he is standing between the two armies of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, he's seeing that they're not strangers. They are his gurus are over there. His cousins are over there. His uncles, everyone is over there. Who basically he's grown up, with all these people. So he says he won't fight because it will get him bad results because these are his kin, his guru. You can't fight against the guru and expect good results out of it. And so Krishna has to he has to speak the entire Bhagavad Gita to Arjun to explain to him that if you don't fight, sooner or later, your nature, your fighting nature, the impulses within you, which make you a Kshatriya, your desire to protect the citizens from adharma and to protect the righteous principles, they will force you to fight some way or the other. Even if you're not fighting the battlefield now, you want to leave everything, but sooner or later, even outside the battlefield, you'll be forced to do this because that is your nature. So you have to engage it in my service. That is in Krishna service. My service means Krishna is saying this. So this was his whole meditation, that okay, he has to use it properly in Krishna service because Krishna wants him to do this. So any activities, and Krishna particularly says that activities that you perform in this way are not binding because you are just a nimitta matra. You are just a vessel, an instrument in my hands to do my work. And Krishna wanted basically this battle to happen because he wanted to wipe out all the miscreants from this earth, and he wanted Arjun to act according to his propensity. Only then would Arjun's activities be purified and they would not be binding. So, this is what Karma Yoga is about: activities which are prescribed by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, which are not binding to you. So, that is what Karma Yoga means. But Krishna, most importantly, how does he define karma yoga? In the sense that he tells Arjun that act and think of me, or rather that think of me and then do your activities. So what makes karma yoga, is that we are adding Krishna to it. We are not attached to the results of our actions for our own personal sense gratification, but we are doing it for the purpose of satisfying someone else. And that someone else can't be just anyone. It can't be that I just want to give up I just become detached, because detached means you're sacrificing something. Sacrificing means you're taking something less or nothing for yourself for the benefit of someone. So there has to be another person. It can't just be in void. So the activities have to be for the pleasure of Krishna. And that is why Karma Yoga is more like a stepping stone towards full-fledged Bhakti Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, it's like whatever activities you do. Karma Yoga is more like the activities that we personally like to do. We are engaging them in Krishna's service. But Bhakti Yoga means whatever activities Guru and Krishna ask of you to do, they become full-fledged Bhakti Yoga. So Arjun's activities become from Karma Yoga, they become full-fledged Bhakti Yoga because Krishna is telling them to do it in his service. And this is one of the biggest lessons, that in this Krishna actually he tells Arjun that don't think that you are the doer of your of these activities of your service. You're just merely the instrument. I'm arranging everything. And for me, this was one of the biggest lessons personally that struck me when I was initially reading Bhagavad Gita, and that is that we have to develop an attitude where we realize minute by minute, day by day, that we are not the doer of our activities, because we have such a controlling nature. We feel we Even if we see so many things around us that we understand we're not in control of, but letting go of this controlling nature is not at all easy. It takes a lot of time and effort, It takes sincere, dedicated service to great souls who finally open all the blocks in our heart and make us realize that whatever is taking place, it is taking place because it is sanctioned by the Lord. And yeah, it requires guidance at every step. So Krishna is ultimately the doer, and he's the one who's giving us the basically the ability. And these abilities and tendencies, we can utilize them in Krishna's service. Like we see some people have more of a tendency to study. They're very intelligent, they're very scholarly by nature. In their spare time, they'll probably be reading some books. Just in general, I'm saying, I'm not speaking about devotees, but just in general, there are some people who like physical labor, like more activity based work. There are some who are more artistic in nature, who like to draw or compose literature, poetry, etc., etc. So all of these and these artistic tendencies are or different kinds of tendencies are there even in the animals. Or like for example, crows will always like garbage. Swans will always be they'll always like more clean water. They like lotuses, they're very graceful basically. So like swans will always stay with swans, crows will always stay with crows. So even with like we also like we like to be with people with whom our tendencies match. So there are the three modes of material nature there, which are goodness, passion, and ignorance. And people are pushed by them, and then they have these attractions accordingly. Someone in a more sattvic mode, they will be more they like to go more deep in philosophy, more deep in say, artistic pursuits. They are not so much behind passionate activity or more tamasic activities in general. I mean, there could be sometimes when it fluctuates, but on a larger scheme, they are more attracted to these things, versus people who are more driven by passion, labor, activity, go, be on the run the whole time. So, and and it's because of this reason, like, okay, like let me just put it like this way. Why is there not just one scripture for the entire world? I mean, there is supposed to be, like, why is there not just one Bhagavad Gita? Or why is there not just one verse of Bhagavad Gita only? Sarva dharman parityaja, the whole crux of it. Mamekam sharanam raja. Okay. Why is it that just this one verse is not enough? Why did Krishna have to, create so many Vedas, so many Upanishads, so many other Puranas, and then finally leading up to Bhagavatam, and then, like even Bhagavad Gita, like so many scriptures are there. And sometimes, it's like one Purana is speaking one thing, another Puran may seem apparently contradictory, although it is not. Um, and the reason for this is that because not all people are in the same place, or they do not have the same tendencies, basically, so to say. They all just can't surrender to Krishna directly. Nobody can just do that. Krishna might say Sarva Dharman Parityaja as this ultimate instruction. But to reach there, there are people at different levels, different tendencies, under the different modes of material nature. So there will, so like some are obviously going to go more into speculative mode. They're going to go more into reading, they're going to go more into gyan side. There are some people who might actually take a bhakti yoga very quickly, or there might be some people who just want to work and earn money and just live for their own sense gratification. All of these people are at different levels. And there are some people who are just going to do vikarma means activities which are forbidden by scriptures. For them, that is the only thing that gives them pleasure. So for all of these people at different levels and tendencies, all these other different scriptures are there. And Krishna tells that whatever level you are in, engage it in my service. One by one, try to increase your level of dedication to me. So same thing Krishna is even telling Arjuna. His tendency is to fight, to protect, to preserve dharma. And then Krishna's like, if you use it for your own selfish desire, then you will become entangled. Rather than that, use it in my service, in Krishna's service, that is. And this is what is known as Nishkam Karma Yoga. So we have Sakam Karma Yoga and Nishkam Karma Yoga. Sakam Karma Yoga is, yes, we are doing activities, but we have some level of detachment, but we also have a lot of desire for some gain, some fruitive work, basically. But in Nishkam Karma Yoga, it is the path of selfless action, where we perform our duties without any attachment to the results or to the fruits of our work, and we dedicate our actions to Krishna. By doing this, we purify our mind and the results of our actions. And though we are going much more ahead in our way to liberation from material bondage, basically. And it involves, so it focuses basically on service, and it helps conquer, in this chapter itself, third chapter, uh, Krishna tells later that we are bound to be um, selfish, or we are bound to go in lower modes because of lust. So nishkam karma yoga helps us get rid of this lust little by little by little, as and when we perform it properly. And this kind of work is actually very pleasing to Krishna, because the whole process of any yoga, and this is something which is like a very basic crux of understanding yoga in general, is that any yoga we do, dhyan yoga, karma yoga, Gyan Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, definitely. Whatever work we do, we are meant to please Krishna. It has to be Samsiddhir Haritoshana. If it is not there, then Shramaiva hi Kevala. That is going to happen basically. So, materialistic life, if you do not basically do anything in the service of Krishna, it kind of like sticks to you. It's like a sticky thing. And we will come under the material world again and again, performing vikarma or karma. Karma means just like fruitive activities, which might give us punya, like good results. So a less intelligent person may say that I won't do anything, like even like in like how no, Krishna, now Arjuna is just an example. He's in no ways less intelligent. He's far, far intelligent, and even the most intelligent person alive on this earth. But he's saying he wanted to actually leave his duties. He didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to go and meditate in the forest and not do any activity, at least for some time. And but how long can anyone keep doing this? And then like artificial renunciation can never help in the long run. So there's this classic verse. Let me just share that. When I read it for the first time, I was trying to figure out what it actually means. Okay, wait. Okay, yeah, this is the verse. Yeah. Bhagavad Gita 4.18. कर्माणि अकर्म यः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान मनुष्येषु स युक्त कृत्स्न कर्मकृत्. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So inaction in action and action in inaction. So what this means is that one who sees inaction in action, okay, inaction in action, whatever activities that we offer to Krishna, they are akarma. So it may seem as if it's action, but it's actually inaction. We're not getting in any ways in material bondage by performing akarmic activities. So that is the first one. And action even in inaction, like a fake renunciate. He feels that he's actually not acting anything, but by his not doing something, his mind is still active. It's not that he is not doing anything. His mind, even in fact, even while sleeping, our mind is active. So that is a fake renunciation. So one who can differentiate between these two is actually intelligent. And how can one actually do this? One is only able to do this under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, as it is explained by this. If one by the words Tasmat Guru Prapadyante, this chapter has clearly explained that dovetailing one work with the service of the Lord is an art one should learn at the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. So the bona fide spiritual master who has realized this himself can guide his uh, disciples, or the ones under him, as to how to perform this. And there are some very, very great, wonderful examples about Nishkam Karma Yoga in our scriptures, like Maharaj Prithu, who was continuously doing, he was a king, he was ruling the entire Bhumandal. But as a king, he was performing sacrifices. That was his karma. But he made it karma yoga in the sense that he was offering all his activities, the result of all his activities, to Krishna for the benefit of his subjects. And then some very like more contemporary, like contemporary in the sense like just 500 years ago, but in Chaitanya Charitamrita we have Maharaj Pratap Rudra, who was constantly acting as the servant, even though he was the king. But then, like even during the Rath Yatra festival, he was sweeping the road, with a golden broom. And he used his position as a king, and he used his body to serve Krishna's devotees and Lord Jagannath. He did not act as the proprietor of his kingdom, but more as a servant. So, and thus he was, even like in the midst of so much of luxury, he was unaffected by it. Just like it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, like a lotus leaf in water, it is untouched, unaffected by it. And then we have our very great acharyas, Rup Sanatan Goswami, or even Raghunath Das Goswami, who were all like Rup and Sanatan Goswami were great ministers in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah. But whatever money they had, whatever were the fruits of their work, they used it only in propagating Krishna consciousness, even before they actually renounced everything. They used all their money to build an entire Gupta Vrindavan, which is in Ramkeli right now. And they had Radha Kund, they had Sham Kund, they had Giri Govardhan over there. There they used to call sadhus, and they used to hold discourses on Bhagavatam very regularly. So whatever money they had, they used it only for propagating Krishna consciousness. They would call devotees to their home and hold Krishna Katha. Even same with Raghunath Das Goswami, he acted as a very responsible administrator before he renounced everything. A very more recent example is there of Prabhupada, in which, it's a very classic example given by Prabhupada, that even a dictaphone or a mic, which was used, is actually karma yoga, because we are using it in Krishna's service. And another thing is that he was always following the order of his spiritual master. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had told him to go to the Western world and preach. Even though he was not immediately able to do it, even before he renounced, before he took up sannyas, even as a householder, whatever money he was there, whatever money he acquired, he was always using it for building, like helping in Gaudiya Math activities. And that actually pleased a lot of his even god brothers and god family at that time, that he was helping so much at that time. So we have these classic examples, from whom we should be learning how to dovetail basically everything in Krishna's service. So lastly, I mean, I have a lot much more to say, but in the interest of time, I will just like to end with this last point, is that Maharaj Nimi is asking very important and pertinent questions. So we need to have a deep appreciation. He's asking perfect questions so that we're able to get perfect answers. So as we're approaching our question and answer round, these in fact, we can see that our whole Bhagavatam is based on question answer. It is like that kind of a format. It starts with the sages at Nemi Sharanya asking 6 very important questions to Suta Goswami, and then this whole, it sets the pace for the entire Bhagavatam, where they are again, where Suta Goswami is again, like repeating questions asked by other great devotees, how he has heard it from Shukdev Goswami himself. So yeah, we should be very appreciative to Maharaj Nimi for asking these wonderful questions, because of which even we might think karma yoga is actually just a stepping stone, but actually even that sometimes we're not able to perform properly. So it's a very basic thing. We might think that yes, bhakti yoga is the highest, but karma yoga is actually a stepping stone, something very practical we need to apply in our day-to-day life. People who are working, we have Amrita Kishori over here. So all her free time and everything she's trying her best to dedicate it in Krishna's service, which is a very nice example. And for all of us, we are trying our best. So let us continue trying our best to serve Srila Prabhupada and serve Krishna in this way. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak on this very practical topic. And I'm opening it now for any questions anyone may have. Okay, wait, oops, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you very, very much, Nandini, Radhika. A wonderful class as always. Would anyone in the temple room like to speak? There's a question in the chat from Krishna Gowda. You see it, Nandini, Radhika?
Yeah, these are people doing Yamlok. Please answer these questions. Okay. First of all, my deep condolences to you and to your entire family. So I'll just read out over here for the benefit of everyone. So Krishna Gauda Prabhu has said that he's messaged on the chat that his beloved mother, 75 years old, passed away on 11th of December last year. 11th of December last year at 11:30 a.m. due to a heart attack at Karnataka in India, and he's deeply saddened by this thought. So he's asking, please tell me where the soul goes after death. What will Yam Dharmaraj do to these dead people in his Yamlok? So, um, well, first of all, my deep condolences once again. So, depending on the pious and impious activities that any living entity has done while they're living, they get different results of that. If a person has done pious activities, they will get the results of that. If it is impious activities, then they will have to suffer in the hellish planets for some time. But at least from your side, see, whatever the person who has passed away, we do not know what pious and impious activities they have done. Maybe you might know, or maybe the immediate family may know, or some friends may know. But at least from our side, as devotees or as aspiring, as practicing devotees who want to become go ahead in our spiritual life, the best thing is to pray for such people. Pray for such people, and whatever activities we do, any spiritual activities, we can offer them for the benefit of our departed family members or close friends. So that's the best thing we do. Like like there is like a Shraddh ceremony. Certain days are there in the Shraddh period, where if at least during that period we can pray for our ancestors, for our forefathers. So similarly, it doesn't have to be in the Shraddh period. Even right now, you can chant some rounds for the benefit of your mother. You can read Bhagavatam, help in distribution of books, giving some donations for propagating Krishna conscious activities. All of these benefits you can uh, like beseech Krishna to use it for your mother's benefit, and Krishna will take that into account and it will be used for your mother's benefit. So karma is a very complex thing. The how whatever like sinful activities, pious activities, who knows? It's not nothing of this one lifetime. It goes many lifetimes. So we do not know where it is, what results a person is going to get after their death. But it is for sure 100% that our karmic activities, spiritual activities will always benefit a soul. So we should just primarily concentrate on that. I hope this answers your question. Okay. Anyone else has any questions?
I have a question.
Yes. Who's this?
It's Jay.
Okay.
Yeah, please accept my humble obeisances. You mentioned, this is just a quick question. You mentioned Krishna's ultimate instruction. Like if the Bhagavad Gita was watered down to a single verse, can you just clarify what verse that was that you spoke?
It is Bhagavad Gita. It's chapter 18, verse 60, I know 66, right? Yeah, I think, yeah. It's verse 66. It is Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayashami Mashacha. That is, leave all other activities and just surrender unto me. That is Krishna's telling Arjun, I will protect you from all bondages, basically, and you need not fear. So that is basically, he gives the whole knowledge of the Gita, and then he tells him that even if you do not understand, basically he's telling us through Arjun, that even if you do not understand anything, just remember to surrender everything to Krishna. And he's the one who will be protecting us ultimately.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, I think someone had raised their hand, right? Yes, Narottam Nitai Prabhu.
Nonetheless, yeah, no, I really appreciate your class today. It's speaking very close to my heart. I personally, I came to Krishna consciousness in 2008 at the Detroit Temple, but I was at New York when I was a child, and I came there. But anyways, what I have realized is that, you know, I personally, the mismanagement of my own personal income and not diverting it into Krishna consciousness. Now, me personally, I'm getting diverted back into it. So what starting to do is just dedicate a little bit of donation per month. And keeping that active, and then going forward. And then the other thing I've come to realize is that a lot of work that I do, I work in the auto industry, is V Karma, because it uses the gasoline, oil, and everything needs energy. So what I was just trying to say is yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to use the money that I get, half of it for book distribution, um, and trying to connect people with the temple and stuff. So that's one thing I'm trying to. And as silly as it sounds, I have a lot of aspirations, because I know, like, here in Michigan, there's a lot of small businesses and restaurants that that I want to connect with the temple. So I try to go exactly to them to distribute books. I was in Chicago, and I had a dream that I'm going to approach, like, a lot of these small pizza places, because there's a lot of pizza places in Chicago and even New York City, and then just distribute books to them, because and tell them about the greatness of cheese. The milk products is so awesome. So anyways, I just wanted to just state that, because even if it's like sounds silly, it sounds silly to me explaining to the devotee these things, but it's a motivation for me to get out there. If I'm not doing Harinam, I can actually at least do book distribution. And one last thing I'll say, I was in New Mexico in 2010, and then this devotee, Srila Prabhupada disciple, his name is Sukadev Prabhu, or I believe, yeah. So him and his wife stayed with me for 3 months, and he was very much into kirtan. And one thing I can say is, like many times things are wrong, like difficult, like just playing kirtan in the house itself, doing performing kirtan, or even having Srila Prabhupada chanting japa, even while we sleep, is such an amazing boon to help us get completely attached to Krishna. And that's what helped me, because if I feel I'm not attached, I guess I really appreciate the devotees that are dedicated, but also to make sure that I can get attached, a lot of kirtan, a lot of chanting, and just immersing myself in the holy name, that really helps. And also using that as a way to offer my prayers to everybody. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. I just wanted to express, nonetheless. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your own experiences and realizations. Yeah, with time, we are supposed to let go of our vikarmic activities and go on more into akarmic activities. And thank you for explaining some ways in which you can do that. So we'll take time in between to just take darshan, and then we can, if anyone has any questions further, we can do that. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Nandini Radhika ki jai. Bhava Bhakti Devi Dasi ki jai. Did the video disappear, or it's just me? Oh, I see.
Yes, it disappeared.
Bhakti Center is on. Okay, let's spotlight them.
Bhagavatam samasitam Urasundaram Kandarpakodhikamaniya Shesha Shobha
Jai Shri Shri Radha Murli Dar Gaur Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai Shingade Bhagavan Ki Jai Shri Radha Murli Dar Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace one can cross the ocean of materialism and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet, perfection fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, and by him ignorance is destroyed. May the scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Temple Room Ki Jai. Thank you, Janitai Prabhu. Welcome to the Afterglow. Dear devotees, I can tell you are satisfied by today's class. Nandini Radhika, thank you so much.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just one minute. I'll just turn on the light here.
I think Sadhvi had her hand up. Sadhvi, you still have your questions? Here?
Yes, please. Hare
Sadhvi.
Krishna, thank you very much for today. You mentioned when you do your services and you are thinking, okay, the next step I have to do this, but all the thought you do is for how to serve Krishna. So why is it wrong that? Because I mean, I could understand if you're thinking about I have to go as soon as I'm finished. I have to go to meet this one and that to do something else that has nothing to do with Lord Krishna. That I can understand is wrong, but why is it wrong when you're thinking only how to do the next step good for Lord Krishna? Why is it wrong that? What is wrong with that?
I
Thank
mean,
you.
it's not, sorry, yeah. it's not wrong. It's just that, yeah, with time, it becomes more natural to do that. We become so focused on a ritual that we forget the essence of the main idea behind doing arti, and that is basically what I meant is that it was very ritualistic initially. I guess that was my problem. The devotion that you feel once it's not ritualistic, and once it becomes more natural, with time and experience, this comes. So I don't want to focus so much on ritual that I forget appreciating Krishna who's standing right in front of me, looking at him and offering him the items with love and devotion. My mind was focused. And see, initially that is fine because at least it's something that it is still very close to Krishna. I'm trying to do my service well. So it's nothing wrong. It's just that with time, the focus on ritual should be less and appreciating Krishna, glorifying Krishna more spontaneously. I mean, I'm not saying like Raganuga form or something within Vaidhi Bhakti itself, but it has to be more spontaneous. So that was my reason.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. It's just more ritualistic. It's just like I'm
But I
focusing more
mean,
step
even
like that.
even when you talk about ritualistics, even that, in my understanding, what I have learned and understand, I may have misunderstood, but even there, I have learned that it's very, very important that you do everything correctly, because otherwise it will be it's a form of offense. So of
Hmm.
course, I believe for it to be right correctly, everything correctly, and not to be offense, of course, the mind goes, okay, next step I do that, next step I do that, next step I do that. Or I should remember. For instance, for myself, when I cook food, I always must remind myself, don't taste it, don't taste it. You have to first offer it. And sometimes, I'm sorry to say that, sometimes there are less salt in it. Sometimes there are almost no taste in it. You know what I mean? Just because I don't taste it, because I have learned that you shouldn't taste before you're offering. So
Hmm.
I mean, if everything you do is just to do it right and to please Krishna, whatever
Hmm.
you do, I mean, for instance, if it was not because of that, I could think about something else. I could taste the food. It's okay because I want to have the best taste for Krishna. But it's wrong. You shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's I mean, it depends in why you're doing it.
exactly. Yeah. Like for example,
Thank you.
even when we are cooking, it is actually really very important, as in your example, to think that yes, we see the most important thing while cooking or doing any activity for Krishna is to think of him lovingly. Everything else is always a more secondary thing, like the rituals, or say even like even the mistakes that you do in cooking, or even like, yeah, like initially always we focus on trying to perfect it. After cooking for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, cooking happens very naturally. You will not even need to taste it. You won't even think about it. Okay, this much
Exactly.
salt, this much
Exactly. It
spices,
has
that is it,
gone.
it'll be done.
Exactly.
And then
When it has gone 10
yeah,
years, yes.
yeah,
But
15
when
years.
you
So
are
again,
new
see,
in
this comes with
it.
experience. At that time, you the cooking also becomes more relishable. Doing any activity becomes more relishable because your mind, which was focused on a more, is this wrong, is this correct, am I putting it rightly, this, that, all that stuff will go away, and you're just constantly 100% thinking of the pastimes of Krishna. That is why, like at any time, whatever activity we do, like, like cooking, cleaning, we are advised to always, or it's always recommended to, like play on a class or something, so that our mind again comes back. We might be focusing so much on again thinking to make it right that we forget sometimes for whom we are doing it. That is just basically what I mean to say, that that should never happen at the cost of the other. We should never forget about Krishna at the cost of uh like trying to do, like being trying to make it too perfect or something of that sort. That is a very
Thank
good
you.
thing. A
Thank you.
desire to do it perfect for Krishna is the best thing that we can do. But
Thank you.
obviously, at a time, again, with experience, the focus will not be so much on trying to make it perfect, knowing that our devotion itself is making Krishna happy. Thank you. That was a very nice question. Thank you. Yes, any other questions? Someone has asked a question. I have also heard that for 2 weeks after the spiritual responsibility of special temperance of spirit soul is around and manifestation. So, here what I wrote. Okay. Thank you, Narottam Nitai Prabhu. Okay. If there are no more questions, then maybe Anand Bihari Prabhu, you want to close the class? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I believe there are no more questions. So thank you so much for joining and giving me an opportunity to hear from everyone. Even hear your questions and hear from me. Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.